Hello, friends, and thank you for joining me today. This is the Her Strength in Him podcast, where we talk about love, faith, family, and everything in between. I'm your host, V, and it has been a minute. I do apologize for my absence, but I have been very, very busy with, life in general. Just with us moving into our new home and getting things or trying to get things in order, I had to take a pause from the podcast for just a little bit. One of the reasons being, all of my stuff was packed up and I really couldn't get to it. But another reason is because I have been having a lot of trouble getting the motivation to do things because I am just so out of routine. We're in a new area, we're in a new home, and of course with that comes new routines, and I really struggle with getting out of my old routines and getting into new ones. So that is where I'm at right now. But here I am. I'm making an effort to start new routines and sort of get my life back in order. I just have to mention that you might hear some background noise. That is my AC. I've mentioned before that I live in Arizona. It's June, it's 1,000,000,000 degrees outside, and my AC is constantly going. I don't know how to make it not do the noise, and Chris is out of town right now, so I'm hoping it's not too loud, but that's our ambiance music or ambient sound right now. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it. I had started a new medication for anxiety and depression when we moved because I was just really, really struggling to get out of bed and just do life. Normally, I am very hesitant to take anything. I barely even take Advil or Tylenol, but I felt like I really needed a boost to get out of this funk that I was in. But the medication was making me feel really exhausted, and I was dizzy all the time, and it really just was not doing what I was hoping it would do. And I would really much rather be in my feels all the time, the good and the bad, rather than feel the way that the medication was making me feel. So I stopped it, and that threw me for a loop with my system getting used to the medication and then my system getting used to not taking the medication. It was a lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I have zero things against medication. And if it works for you, hey, more power to you, friend. But it's just not my jam. It was not for me. Well, let's just jump right back in. The first few episodes that I made were all about goal setting, my all-time favorite thing to talk about. And then I took a long pause. I have the next few episodes recorded that were all about goal setting and the next few areas of life that I was going to focus on. But I decided to take a different direction since the year is just about halfway over. I may finish up that series later in the year. I don't know. But I know that today I wanted to talk about something that I am super duper excited about. My 40th birthday. Yep, I am 40 years old. Well, I'm not 40 years old just yet as I'm recording this episode, but when it drops, I will officially be 40 years old. Or 40 years young. I don't feel old. I don't feel old one bit. My back might be telling a different story, but all in all, I really don't feel quote unquote old. And I don't think that 40 is old either. I never used to get excited about my birthday. I would try to get excited about it, and I wanted to make sure that those around me that were wanting to celebrate me on my big day, that I didn't bring them down. But really, my birthday was just another day for me and just another reminder of how I got my start in this life. But now I can honestly say that I am really excited for this new decade of my life. I have just been so blessed, and I look forward to each day now. Even with the anxiety, even with the depression, I really, really love my life. I feel the same excitement turning 40 that I did when I turned 30. And let me tell you, the last 10 years have been so good to me. God has been so good to me. God is always good to me. I don't really have plans other than to praise God for another year. Chris is away on a business trip. The boy is also not home. He got a summer job and he is working out of state. So tomorrow really is going to be just another day, but that's okay. One of my favorite things to do around my birthday is to reflect on the last year to see where I have made progress and where I need to make changes. Hey, I guess I am talking about goals after all, aren't I? Something that I've been thinking about this last year is my journey as a mom. My son graduated from high school last year, and as happy as I was that he is wrapping up that chapter of his life and starting a new one, I was honestly left feeling a little sad. I felt a sort of emptiness inside because as he grows older, he needs me less and less. At least that's what it seems like, or that's what it felt like. This year, the girl graduated from 8th grade and is officially a freshman in high school. And while my kids are two completely different people with completely different needs and desires, I know what's to come. These next few years are going to whiz by, and before I know it, I'm going to be sitting at that stadium watching my baby girl walk across the stage as she wraps up her senior year. And yes, I will be bawling my eyes out the same way I was bawling my eyes out when the boy graduated. I didn't even make it to the entrance of the stadium before I started crying my eyes out. But that's a story for another day. But over the last year, I have had one of the worst episodes of anxiety and depression that I have had in many, many years. As I look back, I honestly believe that a lot of that is because I don't know what the next phase of my life is going to look like. As a parent of an adult child, an independent teenager, I don't know what that's going to look like. When I was younger, I would dream of being a mom, being a wife, and having a family of my own. When I got married, my focus was on being a good wife. When I had kids, my focus was on being a good mom and trying to raise them right. But it's almost like, now what? I can very much resonate with Evelyn Couch when she says, I'm too young to be old, and I'm too old to be young. Maybe I'm just going crazy. For those of you who don't know Miss Evelyn, she's a character from Fried Green Tomatoes. I have not read the book, but the movie is pretty good. Evelyn experiences feelings of dissatisfaction and emptiness, which can resonate with the emotions of a mother facing an empty nest. There's a sense of loss. There's a sense of identity crisis and the need to find new purpose and fulfillment. Let's turn to the Bible to see what God says about when we're feeling that sense of hopelessness or sense of loss or just that sense of emptiness. First, let's turn to Psalm 34, verse 18. And here's what it says. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Let's go back to Miss Evelyn for a sec. Her feelings of emptiness are mirrored by the brokenheartedness of empty nesters. And this verse reassures us that God is close to those who are struggling with such emotions. Next, let's go to one of my favorite verses. I've mentioned it a few times in previous episodes, but it really is a good one. Jeremiah 29:11. And here's what it says. For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans for welfare and not for calamity, to give you a future and a hope. See, it's not all downhill from here, wherever here is, whether it's your kids moving out, whether it's you turning 40 or 50 or 60, God has a plan for you. You are here because He wants you here. We can find solace in the assurance that God has a plan for our lives, one that includes hope and a future filled with purpose. Okay, I've got one more for you. Now let's go over to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. And here's what it says. There is an appointed time for everything, and there is a time for every event under heaven. Here's what I take away from this one. Just like it says, there's a time for everything. We go through these cycles in life, or as some folks like to call it, seasons of life. And with each season or each cycle comes with work of its own. Each season serves its purpose. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes it's going to be heavy storms and thunder, but it all serves a purpose in God's plan. Timing is very important. I have read through the Bible, not cover to cover, but I read a lot. I read a lot of it. And I read a lot of verses over and over. I read a lot of books over and over. And each time that I do, it just hits a little different. And the reason for that is because there's always something that I take away, something that I couldn't get or I didn't get the last time that I read it or the first time that I read it, because I was in a completely different season of life the first time that I read it than I am now. And there's so much more in the Bible that you can take away, but these few scriptures that I read with you, they can offer hope, they can offer reassurance, and they can offer encouragement to find new meaning and joy in every single stage of our life, no matter how different it looks than the previous one. So I take all that, and that's where I am gaining and building this excitement for my birthday, because honestly, it can only get better from here. No matter how broken I have been, no matter how lonely I have been, it really can only get better from here. And I know that I mirrored how I was feeling, or I expressed how I was feeling as my kids are getting older. They're getting to be more independent, almost like an empty nester. It's not that I don't want my kids to grow up. I am so excited for their futures. I hope they go out into this world and learn so much and just live for the Lord. That is my biggest hope for them. But that was the best way that I could describe how I was feeling this last year. As I was sitting and reflecting, that was what I took away. And that is about all I have for you today. I truly, truly thank you for giving this a listen. I know I took a very long break from last episode to this one. I was thinking about it, and as excited as I am to do this podcast and to continue it, I do feel like I was just a little too ambitious in trying to release an episode every week. I overwhelmed myself. I couldn't keep up, and that really brought me down because I felt like I was disappointing anybody who listens to this podcast, which is probably not a whole lot, but for those of you that do listen, I very much thank you. So what I plan on doing is taking it easy for the next few months, probably through the rest of the year, and release an episode once a month. That's going to be my goal right now. And hopefully build up to once a week or once every 2 weeks. But for now, I think once a month is a good place for me to be right now. Again, thank you so much for listening. I hope that I was able to encourage you, especially if you have been dealing with some of those feelings that I described earlier, feelings of loneliness, emptiness, or just not knowing what that next step is or what that next phase of your life is going to look like. It's okay. God has it planned out already. We don't know what that looks like, but just trust in His process. Don't forget to subscribe or follow so that you get notified when the next episode drops. And hey, I also want to hear from you. You can reach me on the socials, on Instagram at Her Strength Podcast, on Facebook at Her Strength in Him, and I'm also on TikTok now at Her Strength in Him. Go ahead and go onto any of those socials and send me a happy birthday message. I would very much appreciate that. Thank you so much for showing your support. Stay blessed, and until next time, friends.